All right, good morning, folks. Everything new under the sun. I will start it by saying this. I do have a personal testimony as it relates to um, using IVER as it relates to the last couple of years and protecting against a flu in some sort of fashion. I don't know exactly how, prophylactically, i.e., preventatively, and otherwise. And again, for me personally, I've tried it, and it seems to be working. Not only with what happened over the last 2 years, but possibly with any flu. So I just put that out there as a personal testimony that it worked for me. It could be an interesting thing, the IVER, to have some of that for the next thing that comes up. We know the four horsemen of the apocalypse will be riding at some point, and they will be bringing pestilence. We know this will increase in the last days because of the sin of mankind. And I think maybe among many things that the Lord is teaching us through the last 3 years, one of those things maybe is a clue as to how maybe we can help ourselves and be better prepared for the next thing. So wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Maybe get ready for that. Maybe this is a little taste, and most people aren't aware of it because of the disinformation program that's been going on related to it. If you don't follow, this is Dr. John Campbell's website. If you don't, or YouTube channel, I should say. If you don't follow Dr. John Campbell, please do. You'll see that I am subscribed. And I pretty much watch most of his videos. You can see by the red lines there that I'm following a lot of them. I don't have time to watch every single one of them all the way through. But he has excellent peer-reviewed scientific evidence. And he has come a long way over the last couple of years. And again, part of your preparations for the last days is staying on top of medical information, staying on top of the science, being aware of what is happening out there with the studies, with the latest study and quote unquote the latest science, at least what we're able to find out, what they're telling us. And Dr. John is incredible for that. So definitely look into what I was talking about and follow Dr. John Campbell. Highly recommended. This is just one of those things you need to prepare for in the last days, and he's a great source to get good information on that, since it will be one of the aspects of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, which we're getting a little bit bits and bites and tastes of. And I think for the Christians, and this is God's lesson to the Christians to make us aware of it, to get us prepared for it, and so that we're better equipped to manage it as things get worse in this world. One of those things that you need to get prepared for, that we're getting little tastes of, is this right here. This happened in North Carolina. Gunfire on 2 North Carolina substations plunges tens of thousands into darkness and cold. Now, if you've watched some other preppers, Canadian Prepper, for example, he did a whole video about this, and he suggests that the information says that to take out the whole power grid of the U.S., it would only take between 10 and 20 power stations being taken out before there's a massive cascading grid failure. So it's another reason to have some alternative means of energy. We live our lives by electronics, and electronics constitute a lot of our communications, i.e. ham radio, amateur radio. You're going to need a way to charge that. If cell phones may be down, cell phone towers, if there's a grid down scenario, so they're not necessarily going to be useful, but you can use them for other things. Maybe doing calculations, or maybe there's a compass on them that will still work in a grid down situation, or maybe some other apps that have some data or information on them that will work even if you're not connected to the grid, or cell towers are down. So there's reasons to have electricity, including fridges, freezers, other things like that. Running your well pump every once in a while, you need some electricity for some things, and it's hard to get away from that. You can, but you have to do a lot of work. And if you want to pump a well pump manually, well, that's your choice, and you get prepared for that. But having a battery backup or some sort of backup is good. Now, you may not want a gas generator. They are the cheapest way in a power outage, especially for power outages only last a couple of hours or a couple of days. But after the first couple of days, if you have a massive power outage like we did in the Maritimes with Hurricane Fiona, you'll note that gas pumps require gas or diesel to work the pump that pumps the gas out of the ground to get into your car. And many gas stations around where I live didn't have backup generators. In fact, most of them across the province where I live did not have backup generators. And you'd think that would be a no-brainer for a gas station. But no, apparently it's a common thing. Most gas stations do not have backup generators, so they can't pump gas when the electricity is out. And that's exactly what everybody needs to run their own generator. So gas as a backup is good for short-term outages, but longer-term outages, you need another strategy. Renewable energy, hydro is the best. If you have a river going by you, figure out how to get a ram pump going. Figure out how to get some hydroelectricity. It's not that hard. Google it right now while Google works, while YouTube works, and you can find some pretty simple ways to get small amounts of electricity from running water, and it's a great option. But 2 substations out. I think there was 40,000 at one point that had no power. And of course, in winter, apparently this is going to take them a week to fix. In winter, when you need energy again to run your heat pump, or even for me, I burn wood, but I do have a forced air a furnace burning that wood, and so I need a fan, a blower. There's a blower on it that requires electricity, about 1,000 watts it takes. So you need something to run that. And no matter where you are, you probably need electricity to get sort of some sort of heat. So you need to be prepared for that. And gas may not be the best thing. The other reason is that as gas becomes scarce, you could have 5, 6, 10 jerry cans, but then day after day, theft and roaming marauders will increase looking for gas, and the price of gas will skyrocket as more and more people are getting desperate and depend on it. Not only that, I think a lot of the gas that you may have stored up will go to your friends and family, your neighbors who are around you, who are saying, you know what, I ran out of gas. Can you give me some extra gas? This power outage shouldn't be more than a couple more days here. So if you could just loan me some gas, that'd be great. And you're not going to refuse your neighbor some gasoline, even though that may mean that you won't have enough. But this is the thing. Neighbors around you are going to ask for it first, and then you're going to give it up that way. And if you don't give it up that way, after a couple more days, your friends, neighbors, maybe even people from farther away will come not asking, but taking what you have in a longer-term grid down situation. Plus, a generator is very loud, noisy. It's going to attract people. It's going to attract attention. And that's one of the things. When the grid is down, when stuff hits the fan for more than a couple days, don't use the generator at night. Don't use your solar generator, your stored energy, at night. Keep lights to a minimum, because if you have all the lights blaring in your house, everybody around is going to know that you have electricity. That means you have energy. That means you have fuel. And they're going to be coming to your house to ask for it first, nicely. And then maybe they'll start saying, look, we'll give you twice the amount for it. And if you still don't say that, you say, I'm not going to have enough for myself if I give it all to you. Then they'll come back and maybe possibly take it violently. So be prepared. This is interesting. As your hedge, of course, this is not news to anybody, probably on my channel. But information continues to come out. Follow Dr. John Campbell on YouTube. Whistleblower, former EcoHealth VP, says it was man-made and escaped from the lab. This is common knowledge now. Of course, you don't hear any mainstream media really talking about it, really carrying the story and saying, you know what happened here? How did we mess this up to begin with? You don't hear that. You don't hear this on mainstream media. This should be a massive story, and they should be looking at themselves as reporters and saying, why didn't this information get out from the start? But of course, it's not. So be aware, folks. Things in the past maybe weren't great conspiracies, but I think we've been proven right about this conspiracy. What happened there? I think it went back here. Let me go there. There we go. Yeah, things are being proven correct about what we've thought for a long time about this. Okay, now this is interesting. This is significant. Who was behind the taking out of the substations in the U.S.? Was that a test case? Was that more some sort of um, was it asynchronous warfare? I was going to say cyber warfare, but that was physical because guns were fired on the substations. But again, you talk about Russia and how they're going to hit back the U.S. Well, this happened. We just had a massive bombing runs in Ukraine. We had news come out about 100,000, maybe even more Ukrainians dead. Looks like their army's collapsing. And then, news comes out that Ukraine somehow destroys 2 nuclear bombers in airport bombings. Now, this is massive. And could Ukraine do this prior? Why haven't they done this prior with all the bombing runs that have been happening over the last number of weeks on Ukrainian targets, Ukrainian cities, etc.? Who gave them the power to take out 2 nuclear bombers? You know that Russia is protecting these, has air defenses. How does this happen? One of the bombed airports contained a training center for military aircraft and tanks. At the second airport, 2 Tu-95 bombers were hit by a drone. Who is giving them the information? Who is giving them the intel, the location, the weaponry to be able to take this out? I don't, if Ukraine could do this yesterday, 10 days ago, a month ago, I would think they would have done this to prevent bombings and bombing runs on their country. So you have to look at this and say, I wonder if someone came in from outside, gave them the information and the hardware to take out 2 Russian bombers. This is significant. Do you think Russia's going to let this slide, 2 Russian bombers? They've already seemingly let slide the bombing of the Crimean Bridge. They've seemingly let slide the taking out of the Nord Stream pipelines, which is incredible. They're biding their time. They're playing chess. They're looking several moves ahead, and they're waiting for the right opportunity. Don't be tricked into thinking that Russia isn't going to do something at some time. They're holding their cards. They're not showing what they're going to do. They're not retaliating in anger or quickly. They're saving what they're doing, and this is just one more thing. Black eye on Russia. Remember, U.S. helped the Ukraine take out their flagship in the Black Sea. Russia's biggest, best ship, the flagship of their fleet, of the Black Sea Fleet, I believe it was. That was massively embarrassing to Russia. How many of these embarrassing things is going to happen to Russia before they say that's it? Literally, the Western world is cornering the bear, poking them in the eye several times, and they're going to lash out. And they're going to lash out in massive fashion. Right now, they're being very, very patient, but they, based on all the things that the West has done to them by way of the proxy of Ukraine, based on that, Russia should have a lot of retaliation coming against us, but we haven't really seen it. Interesting, right? So pay attention to that. Now, Iran, this is an update from jpost.com. Iran may be able to build crude nuclear weapons within 6 months. Now, we've seen reports like this before, but Israel has always went in and covertly taken out nuclear power plants, nuclear, secret bunkers, etc. And they will likely do the same. But that what Israel is doing in secret, covertly, continues to push off the ability for Iran to create a nuclear weapon. Well, we have a new report. Now it's 6 months out. And this suggests that there will be another strike of some sort by Israel, covertly probably by the Mossad, to take out the weapons program again and set it back again. What this says is, this is basically telling the Iranians that, look out, Israel is coming shortly to again delay the weapons program in Iran. So, if Israel doesn't do anything, then apparently they're 6 months out from a crude nuclear weapon. The new think tank report details how to deter Tehran from making a move to build a few crudely made nuclear weapons. Iran may be launching an accelerated effort to achieve crude nuclear weapons in only 6 months. says, according to Monday's report by the Institute of Science and International Security, President David Albright, even though top Israeli officials just recently told the Post that Islamic Republic's weapons group is 2 years away from being able to deliver a nuclear warhead via ballistic missile, there could be a much more pressing threat. And the idea of a crude nuclear weapon not delivered by ballistic missile, but by other, covert on a truck or something, moving across into Syria and maybe to a border. And you know what? If you were listening to the guest host on Canadian Preppers channel about nuclear weapons, nuclear fallout, what's worse than a straight up tactical nuclear weapon dropping on a city is the melting down of a nuclear power plant, because it releases a lot more radiation. So you have this idea of a dirty bomb, which is potentially more dirty than kind of dropping just a standard nuclear weapon on a population or a location. And the radiation, the fallout from that could be even worse and last longer. So interesting idea. So I will leave it there. There's a lot of things happening. And I think all these, again, are warnings for Christians, because we know what's coming in the last days. We know that the four horsemen of the apocalypse are bringing wars, rumors of wars, pestilence, famine, and death, and seas that are poisonous. We know all these things are coming, and the Lord is kind of easing us into it. For those who recognize what's coming, we're getting prepared. We're saying, we see this coming. Okay, we've had an example of this. Now we're prepared for it. We've got maybe some solar backup. We have some extra power. We have some maybe some medicine to help with the next thing, if you know what I mean, that's coming out. We have some ideas how to live through, how to address this, while the rest of the world is consumed by the mainstream media, and they're downplaying and not listening to anybody about what may be good options to assist you in the next pestilence that comes along. They're not paying attention because they've listened to mainstream media. But if you just pay attention, see what's working, and get prepared for the inevitable, we know what's coming. And Christians are going to be much better off and prepared. And I think that's all part of what's God opens the eyes of those faithful to Him. He opens the eyes of us. We know what's coming. We can see it, so we're getting ready for it. And then we can help our neighbors and say, you know what? We knew this was coming. Here's how we can help you. We learned this from the last time, and it ends up being a good witness in the last days, prior to the 7-year period as well, and more significantly prior to the last 3.5 years, which is the wrath of God, known as the Great Tribulation. Not just the tribulation. There's 2 periods: the tribulation, and there's the Great Tribulation. The Great Tribulation is, I believe, the wrath of God on mankind. So, folks, be prepared. Things are heating up. And as we go along, as we see these things, again, I will say, keep your eyes open. Learn from the things that are happening. Get prepared. These little power outages that last a couple of days, a week, get prepared. More is coming. Longer is coming. And so you need to be ready for it. Thanks for watching, folks. I'll leave it there. We'll see you in the next video.